Welcome back, guys. A quick recap of our last class. We looked at monoclonal antibodies, also known as MABs, and they're antibodies produced by a single clone of a B lymphocyte grown in a cell culture. Okay? All clones are identical and are specific to the same antigen, which is obviously super important. We want it to be specific to have that adaptive immune response. So again, when we're creating monoclonal antibodies, we need to make this hybridoma here. Okay, we use a mouse, we take their B cells from that antigen, their immune response from that antigen, and then we essentially hybridize them or polymerize them or mix them together with myeloma cells, and that makes a hybridoma, which creates infinite monoclonal antibodies forever. All right, so monoclonal antibodies and autoimmune disease. So we also have conjugated monoclonal antibodies here, where the antibodies that have things attached to them. In this case, it could be a chemotherapy drug, it could be a toxin, or it could be something that's radioactive, so a radioisotope. Okay. I know this is more chemistry, but it is really interesting to see what they can do with these monoclonal antibodies. And essentially, it delivers treatment specifically to these cancer cells, and the radiation goes right to it. All right. So things like radiation therapy can use monoclonal antibodies. All right, stuff like pancreatic cancer, where it's really deep, it's really difficult to remove, and it can metastasize easily. Those are the ones they use it for. Bispecific monoclonal antibodies. All right, so these ones are a little bit different. Again, anything with bi in it. I can't think of any examples right now. I'm sure you can. Anything with bi in it means two. So bispecific monoclonal antibodies. All right, are artificially produced using recombinant DNA, and they target cancer cells and activate the immune system at the same time, the adaptive immune system as well. This is due to differing polypeptide binding sites that are different on either side of the Y shape. So again, we have our two monoclonal antibodies here, standard immunoglobulin G monoclonal antibodies there, and you mix those together with this certain technique, and you get two different active sites. So this is active site number 1, all right? And then this is active site number 2, and it's specific to a different thing, okay? So why is this useful? This one could connect to the cancer, and this active site could connect to, a T cell or a killer T cell, or a cytotoxic T cell, or a macrophage, or something along those lines, one of our immune cells. Okay, so really, really interesting, the use for bispecific monoclonal antibodies. And you do need to know the difference between those two things. All right, again, there's lots of different ones, all right, but they are the main ones we want to be aware of, the conjugated monoclonal antibodies that we just spoke about, all right? And they're loaded with something generally. And then you have this bispecific antibody, bispecific monoclonal antibody, which it has a T lymphocyte here, cytotoxic T cell there, beautiful, which will help destroy that cancer cell. We also looked at autoimmune disease, okay, so we need to be aware of this. This is part of the study design. So this is really when the immune system attacks your own cells. Generally, it happens in joints and stuff first, all right, so think of something like arthritis. That is just autoimmune disease, but it can happen all over the body too. All right, and it's essentially a malfunction or a misfunction of your immune system, and the MHC1 markers don't do their job. Okay, it can be inherited, it can be a genetic disease, and there are over 80 different autoimmune diseases. What are some treatments here? So autoimmune disease traditional treatments include anti-inflammatory drugs, so less inflammation means less attack on your own body. Immunosuppressant drugs, which suppress your immune system. Long-term use of these treatments obviously are pretty bad for your health. Okay, so suppressing the immune system, it'll allow you to get sick easier. It might give you cancer more prevalently. Yeah, it's very, very difficult with this because it's kind of like a medium to short-term band-aid solution to a long-term problem. So corticosteroid is an example of that. Monoclonal antibody therapy for autoimmune disease. Okay, this can be used for autoimmune disease. That's why these are linked. So complements traditional treatments for autoimmune disease. And it is really new research, so we're kind of just mentioning it here. What are the examples? Tumor necrosis factor alpha, interleukin inhibitors, B and T lymphocyte inhibitors. Again, mainly inhibitors is what we're aware of here. Some of this stuff is extra knowledge, so we'll continue on. But that's it. Yeah, thanks for watching. Have a great day.